Today is going to be a very important video because I'm going to explain to you the major change that I made to my crypto portfolio in light of some groundbreaking data that I recently uncovered. So I want to discuss the reason why I made that change and the altcoins that factor into that change. I also want to talk about altcoin strategy right now because Bitcoin is at a very monumental level. There are signs that it could be about to make one of its biggest moves of the year. But in order to actually capitalize on that move, you need to have your altcoin strategy on point. And I'm seeing so many people mess up altcoin positioning right now. So I want to go through what my exact plan is for the next few weeks in terms of altcoins. I have one, I guess, slightly contrarian opinion regarding alts that I want to share to make sure you are prepared for that eventuality. And at the end of the video, I'll be getting into some newer trends that I am spotting in the crypto market. So I hope you have been enjoying the videos recently. If you are, or even if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that post notification bell down below so you don't miss out on the early crypto alpha. The whole point of this channel is to keep you in the loop and give you the latest opportunities so you can front run your competition. Let's firstly start by discussing where Bitcoin is currently sitting. I want to just start the video by showing you the Bitcoin monthly chart, which actually looks super bullish. It's very rare that you get high time frame accumulation on Bitcoin above a major support level, which is exactly what we've gotten for the last 6 months. In recent weeks, we've seen Bitcoin actually clear above the previous 2 monthly highs, which is technically a higher high on some of the lower time frames for Bitcoin. Of course, the higher high on the monthly time frame that everyone is eyeing is the Bitcoin all-time high at 74K. However, I think we are a strong chance to come up and test and hopefully break that level over the coming weeks and months, as this setup looks really good from a macro perspective. So I am macro bullish on the market right now, but there is some nuance. It's not as simple as just longing every random altcoin in sight. No, I have a strategy that I am implementing. That's why I've made a portfolio shift, and that's also why I think you should watch this video so you're up to date in how I'm actually playing this market. Of course, in the interim, we've had some amazing trades. Whilst Bitcoin has started to pick up, the altcoin market has started to pick up, which has led to a lot of opportunity across a variety of market sectors. For example, Memecoins. In the Mars High Club, which is my private Discord community, I spotted Klaus, for example, at 6.7 million. As soon as I saw it, I shared it in the Alpha channel, which is where I give you some of my newer plays, my low cap plays, and that went up 50% overnight. And then 30 hours after that, it ended up going up a 6.5x. I think right now it's currently sitting at around a 6 to 7x, which is absolutely insane. To be able to hit a 7x essentially in 2 days is kind of unheard of stuff, but it is common in these market conditions. It's unheard of course, for TradFi or anyone that's not in crypto. Those kind of figures are insane. But if you're actually locked into the market, paying attention, and you understand how these metas rotate, it actually becomes much easier to spot, and that is something I help you guys with in the Mars High Club. It's been great to see over the past few weeks people making insane profits from not only my setups, but also the setups from some of the other traders in the group. People have been thanking me for my call on Klaus, C-Pool as well, which I got you guys into super early. Arshad's thanking us here for the strategies, and yeah, the kind of profits in the group do end up speaking for themselves. But that wasn't the only bit of alpha that's coming to the Mars High Club. I am, in the coming days, going to let you in on a protocol which I think you're still very early to, which is in the RWA space. So there's a project which I believe super undervalued in RWA. I've been speaking to the team. It's really, really strong technology, and I don't see anyone speaking about it on crypto Twitter or crypto YouTube, which I think is usually a good recipe for picking an early winner. I'm going to be sharing that in the Discord in the coming days. I'm just doing one bit of last due diligence, and then I'll share it with all the group members. So if you do want to become part of the Discord, if you're not already, there's a link in the description below to sign up. You'll get access to all my early alpha, as well as all the amazing analysis we have in that group from the range of other analysts. So if you're a low time frame trader, Paradise is your go-to guy. He's got all his indicators and his setups that he posts pretty much all day. We've got Doc, who's our high time frame and more positional trader, and then Fabian, who's our low cap gem expert. And we all come together to make, I guess, a crypto Avengers of sorts. Anyway, now on to my thesis here regarding Bitcoin, and then we will get more into my altcoin strategy. So leading on from the point I made before about Bitcoin looking good and consolidating above a previous resistance level, now obviously that is a support consolidation level, I want to give you a bit more of a macro insight as to what I think is happening with Bitcoin right now and some of the underlying variables which are set to majorly impact price. Because if you can just understand the current market dynamic, I think you have a much better chance of succeeding, not just in the Bitcoin market, but in the altcoin market, as they're so heavily interlinked. So I want to start by reading this tweet here from Will. He says, who was a great analyst last cycle and is also posting some amazing stuff right now. I think any targets for Bitcoin that you had for this cycle should be adjusted higher now after 6 months of consolidation at prior all-time highs, as we pointed out. Lots of supply has changed hands during that period. So lots of people have been basically buying Bitcoin that are bullish on Bitcoin, and all the weak hands have now basically had an opportunity at this point to exit Bitcoin. Will says, presumably now in the possession of those targeting much higher. And my response to him was, look, at the end of the day, the elites, the people with money, the wealthy, they need to park their money somewhere. And in this high liquidity, high inflation, high QE money printing environment that we are now in, and it seems to be the new paradigm of the macro economy, Bitcoin is one of the only viable options for parking wealth. Yes, you have equities, which I guess are good for covering against inflation. Gold, in times of uncertainty, does really well, and it's a hard asset, so it tends to do well in periods of high inflation / when people hedge against geopolitical uncertainty. But at the end of the day, Bitcoin's kind of the best of both worlds. You have the risk on upside of Bitcoin, similar to equities, where you can get those huge returns, but even more so than the stock market. But it also has similar properties to gold, which I think make it a compelling proposition for anyone looking to park wealth. The other thing is gold has recently been making new highs. Bitcoin, relative to gold, has actually been lagging behind. In fact, let me just get a tweet up live for you here that I remember from Rookie yesterday. You can see gold's flying. It's broken above its all-time high and pumped 40% above that level. Bitcoin is still 10% off its all-time high. So just a Bitcoin repricing relative to gold, that alone would take Bitcoin to almost $90,000, notwithstanding the factors that I am about to show you. So this is a very delicate / high upside environment right now for an asset like Bitcoin. Taking a look at the weekly chart now, so coming on to a lower time frame than the monthly chart, you can see we are now flirting with the idea of breaking out above this channel that we've been in, this channel of constant downtrends that we've been in since early March. We do need a weekly close, all right? So there's still a couple days to go, but I do think we are going to get it, which definitely is a good thing because the higher high that we needed to make to signal a lower time frame reversal was at $66,000. Bitcoin can now actually, pump a bit and then pull back down to this level for me. And if that's a new base, that's actually amazing because that is another higher low, which would be a great consolidation setup for a potential leg to all-time highs. Now, I'll get into a minute why I think the path there may not be as simple as a breakout within the next week or so. But the important thing to note is that the macro move is certainly brewing. And this does line up with strong Bitcoin quarterly returns. So we have seasonality that is also on our side here to back up the technical / price action evidence that we do have right now that Bitcoin is looking for further upside. But what's really interesting about recent Bitcoin price action is I still feel like there's a large contingent of the market which is still offside / fading these rallies. If you do look at the Bitcoin chart right now, every single time we've pumped over the last 6 months, those rallies have been faded. So what happens? People naturally start to distrust the pumps. Every time the market pumps, people think, oh, it's another dead cat bounce. Oh, it's another dead cat bounce. And it's not until we actually break all-time highs that people start to shift their thinking and think, oh no, wow, maybe this is the real move. So the fact that people don't really trust the pumps anymore, the fact that interest is really low, you can see it on the Google trends here, that Bitcoin and crypto searches are pretty much at their FTX lows, which is crazy, despite Bitcoin being just below all-time highs, in my opinion, gives us a great setup for an explosive leg to the upside. Because what happens when you have offside positioning? Essentially, people that are offside with sideline capital at a certain point are going to be forced to FOMO back into the market. They won't do this until all-time highs. And that's why you get your acceleration that can happen super quickly after you break all-time highs. The thing with Bitcoin as well is that there's significant short interest building up around this 70K zone and previous all-time high zone. So we may shoot down a few times as we go and test these zones, but what this does is it builds up short-sided open interest that eventually, once there's enough buy pressure, you can shoot through that interest, and that leads to a massive short squeeze to the upside. Then once you squeeze to the upside, what happens is the people that are offside, as I discussed, this large retail contingent that isn't in the market, they're forced to FOMO back in higher above all-time highs, and then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy to, 80, 90, 100, 120K. Maybe you could argue, Miles, you're getting a bit ahead of yourself talking about this, but I need to give you this context before I get into the altcoin strategy, because I need to frame what I generally think is going to happen over the next few quarters in crypto. This is being further supported by the fact that Bitcoin exchange reserves just hit an all-time low. So the amount of money sitting available and liquid on exchanges is the lowest it's ever been. But demand for Bitcoin is probably the highest it's ever been due to the fact that I discussed before under Will's tweet that people simply need a place to park their money. Gold's been running, stocks have been running, Bitcoin also tends to catch up and recorrelate to these assets as well. With exchange balances being at an all-time low, this does potentially prime Bitcoin for a massive supply squeeze. A supply squeeze happens with the amount of when the amount of available supply is lower than the corresponding demand for that asset. And we know Bitcoin is in high demand as an asset. Whenever you look at prices in any market, you have to look at supply side factors and demand side factors. On the supply side, Bitcoin is obviously a limited and scarce asset, and we do have conditions right now where there is minimal supply on exchanges. On the demand side, you have massive quantitative easing, money printing, and a global liquidity injection, which means people have to park their money somewhere, which increases the demand for an asset like Bitcoin. So when you have those two dynamics at play, not even factoring in something like seasonality, the election, all the other factors, it can lead to something pretty explosive. And that's generally speaking why I think we do see a very strong Bitcoin over the next 6 months or so. In just a minute, I'll get into how I'm actually playing that. Global liquidity here, as I've been discussing, has recently just ticked into an uptrend, so it broke out for the first time in 3 years. I don't think this trend is going anywhere. We see central reserve banks all across the world, America, European Union, starting to lower rates. That's a form of quantitative easing, whilst China are essentially injecting liquidity into their economy that is increasing overall global liquidity. And we know Bitcoin as an asset is extremely sensitive to global liquidity. In fact, it's almost 1-to-1 on the Pearson correlation coefficient, more so than stocks and equities. And one more thing on the demand side for Bitcoin is, of course, the Bitcoin spot ETFs, which are now seeing record inflows, $2.1 billion over the past week flowing into the ETFs, showing a strong demand from the stock market contingent, the TradFi contingent of the market, which is pretty much a market segment which previously Bitcoin didn't have access to. So, I mean, earlier in the year, I kind of discussed that maybe in the short term, people are overestimating the effects of the ETFs. Over the long term, I think they're being severely underestimated because this continuous passive flow keeps coming into Bitcoin that we've never had before, and combined with some of the supply side factors that I discussed, like the current shortage of Bitcoin and the limited supply, that bodes very well for its long-term price potential. Now, let's get into the conversation I'm sure you want to talk about right now, and that is, how does this impact altcoins? How can you actually trade this? Well, if my thesis is correct, and if Bitcoin is truly primed for upside, this, in my opinion, does mean dominance is going to continue going higher. We've already been in a dominance increasing market since April last year, actually, 2023. We've been in this uptrend. Yes, we've seen periods where alts have outperformed. It does happen. But overall, we have been grinding with Bitcoin dominance making higher highs over the last, not even 6 months, over the last year and a half, which is pretty crazy. So dominance has pretty much been up only, right, since 2021. Now, you may view this recent move in dominance, which has taken it even higher to the upside, as a negative thing. You might think, oh, that's bad for alts. That's, not healthy for altcoins because it means people are selling alts, they're buying Bitcoin. This is, if Bitcoin dominance goes to 64% or 62%, that's bearish. You've got it all wrong. The best thing for the altcoin market, the most healthy thing for the altcoin market, is a rising Bitcoin price. And yes, in the early stages of a run where Bitcoin leads, that is going to result in dominance increasing whilst price increases. That is a very healthy thing for the market, as we tend to get a rotation from Bitcoin, which you can think of at the top of the liquidity funnel, eventually down into altcoins as people move down the risk curve. But you need this phase where Bitcoin and dominance goes up for a bigger alt season to happen. Now, you might be thinking, well, what does that mean in the interim? Should we be in Bitcoin now instead of in altcoins? And that's the strategy I'm going to be going into in just a second here. But basically, you have to make a choice, and this is largely dependent on your current situation. The first choice you can make is to be more primarily concentrated in Bitcoin right now. I think that's really only a viable option for the current whales in the market. For people that are trading with slightly more size, you can be in Bitcoin and then rotate into alts later. Because Bitcoin, right, like, let's say 100K is the top for this cycle. I know a lot of people saying it's way higher, and some saying 200, let's just say it's 100 just to keep it an easy round number and a realistic number as well. Alts probably won't go on their parabolic run until 90K Bitcoin, or until Bitcoin stalls out at 100 and goes back down to 90. And whilst Bitcoin is going back down, that liquidity flow is happening into alts, which are, 3, 4, 5, 10xing altcoins. Now, you will see some narratives in particular starting to front run this as Bitcoin breaks all-time highs. But a lot of alts are going to leave a lot of people offside and essentially lag Bitcoin. What this creates is a lot of FOMO happening back into Bitcoin. So the first stage of a true cycle, which we're now getting the signs of it's actually happening, are Bitcoin rising, dominance rising, and the next phase is people FOMOing back into Bitcoin, which means by virtue of that FOMO, altcoins must be underperforming versus Bitcoin. I want to read out this tweet here, at least the most important parts from Smiley Capital, because I believe it really sums up my feeling on the current situation with altcoins, and in light of that, also the strategy that you can follow to capitalize on the altcoin market. And then I'll get into option number 2. So if you don't hold Bitcoin, what do you actually do during this period? Smiley says, if Bitcoin starts expanding here in the following months, this is how it's going to look regarding alts. As Bitcoin threatens an important pivot point, in this case breaking 70 to 74K, during the shenanigans, alts will suffer if the move is real and if Bitcoin has actual merit to break upwards. If we get 70 to 74K distribution with alts popping off, I wouldn't get so excited. Basically, he's saying if alts start exploding at 70K, this is actually a bad sign, as a healthy, sustainable altcoin run needs to be bred from an initial Bitcoin rally way past all-time highs. Key takeaway here is to know that whether Bitcoin is trying to push through super important levels, if it siphons liquidity away from alts, that is considered a healthy sign of the market. Alts will not be down only during this period where Bitcoin is absorbing the liquidity, but they will take hits, underperform, and crab. Once/if Bitcoin breaks upwards, in this case, it's entering uncharted territory, which is called price discovery. Bitcoin in this stage would be siphoning off even more liquidity than before, as it should, the liquidity that's needed to support the gigantic move into continuous all-time highs. Now, this is where dynamics for alts shift a bit. During Bitcoin God candles, I fully expect most alts to follow suit with their own strong candles. Yes, you heard me right. A lot will do even more than Bitcoin whilst trailing along the rally. The nuance here is that upon Bitcoin's consolidation and correction periods, alts get absolutely slaughtered. So basically, if Bitcoin prints a massive candle, alts would print a massive candle, Bitcoin would correct, but alts would correct really, really hard. Most will still make higher lows, remain within bullish structure, alas giving away most of the gains in the short term. Bitcoin stays strong with shallow pullbacks. He's still the king, and this is a sign of health. This dynamic can last for weeks, even months, until Bitcoin is done with the initial move. I fully expect a 20 to 30% correction afterwards that will have people calling cycle tops and taking profits. What those will not understand is that the real fun is about to begin. Regardless of Bitcoin's move after a correction, that's where we'll likely see the rotation into ETH and consequentially the rest of the altcoin market. That's the alt season, so that crazy period of alt outperformance that you're looking for. Bitcoin is likely uptrending here, but no longer leading or outperforming. This dynamic is further exacerbated by the fact that Bitcoin should theoretically hit a historical level like 100K upon expansion, leading to media/retail attention that brings liquidity into alts. So then you got to ask yourself, and this is the point I'll get to when it comes to positioning in my portfolio, when the media is advertising Bitcoin and crypto again, where are people going to start putting their money? So you have to start front-running that when it comes to positioning as well. No, they won't buy your 120 to 140K Bitcoin. They'll associate the asset class with legitimacy and hyper-gamble on poop coins. That's basically what's going to happen, right? This is the point where 80% of the gains are made. And this is a major point. It's only in the last 20% of a move that 80% of the gains are made. It's the Pareto effect. It happened last cycle. It even happened a little bit in March in that mini, altcoin season that we had. And it's going to happen with the bigger altcoin season here. And this video is all about getting you prepared for that. So what do? Do you capitalize it? Because this really did sum up. I really wanted to read that because super sums up like how I personally view the market. He just went into a lot more depth and a lot more verbose, but basically sums up with what I think. So what do? So first option is to be in Bitcoin, then rotate later. That is something that whales can do. I don't think a lot of you fall into that category. Now, I think a lot of you, and I'm talking, sub six-figure portfolios, which is the average based on the data that I've collected that my audience holds. I think most people are actually better off positioning in alts, right? During that initial run, as Bitcoin is running up and alts are chopping, and on those downtrends, having those 20% candles because they're still more volatile and still not as hot as Bitcoin, using those opportunities to actually accumulate altcoins. What will also happen is people will start FOMOing back into Bitcoin on an all-time high break. Many alts will be like flat or just slightly up. And the pullbacks when Bitcoin pulls back are going to be huge. So you might see Bitcoin go up 10%, an altcoin go up 5%, but Bitcoin going down 10% and an altcoin going down 10%, which means the overall market is losing strength relative to Bitcoin, aka Bitcoin dominance is going up. On those dips, those are the times to stack the altcoins that, as I just discussed, retail is going to FOMO back into at, let's say, 100K Bitcoin. So you're essentially having to live with the fact that you are going to be down versus Bitcoin or underperforming Bitcoin for certain periods in that initial move before the last 20% of the move where you make all your gains. So following that strategy of buying alts on these shakeouts and dips and on these, consolidation periods is going to require a lot of mental fortitude. It's going to require you to basically sit back, tie your hands, and be able to watch Bitcoin maybe outperform and your alts go down a lot on certain days before the major run happens for alts. Now, keep in mind, this scenario only plays out if, as Smiley alluded to, Bitcoin's price action relative to alts is looking really strong around 74K, around all-time highs. If alts start to pump really hard at 74K Bitcoin and Bitcoin's losing strength and we're seeing ETF outflows, that may be it, and we may cool down and go back down to like 60K. This strategy only occurs when Bitcoin's leading and the market's looking strong, which I do anticipate to happen. And, part of this channel is about giving you my opinions and my takes on the market based on my analysis. So that's your altcoin strategy. Now let's dig deeper into what alts you should be looking at accumulating over the coming weeks, over the coming months even, on these shakeouts and on these downtrends. Even over the past 2 days, we've already seen retraces on memes of 20, 30%. That's exactly what I'm talking about, right? Those days, following massive pumps, are going to become a lot more common. And those days are your opportunity to accumulate. In front of you is the total 3 chart. This is basically the altcoin chart because it excludes Bitcoin and Ethereum. This to me looks like a big bull flag on the monthly. So what may happen is, this is the channel, the flag can extend. Alts may chop like this, right, for a little bit whilst Bitcoin is pumping during that period before the eventual breakout on alts where we go back to previous highs. And I do think at some point we do go back to previous highs on alts. So it's your job during that chop to accumulate alts, and it may not even last that long. It may literally just look like this because this is the monthly candles. Before the breakout, this is like your positioning phase, basically. So what alts would you be looking at positioning in during that period? Well, there's been a major shift in the market right now, which has me shifting my portfolio a little bit. So as the title of the video suggests, I've shifted my portfolio to skew towards the number one narrative in crypto right now, and that's AI. Over the last 48 hours, AI is the top narrative. Over the last 7 days, AI is the top narrative. Over the last 30 days, this is the mindshare graph, AI is the top narrative. Over the last 3 months, AI is the top narrative. Over the last 6 months, over the last 12 months, it is the top narrative of this cycle. I'm sorry, if AI is not your number one focus this cycle, I don't know what to tell you, because that is what the data is showing us. The AI meme coin meta has been in full swing recently. AI is genuinely, and you can see this in front of you, solving real problems in crypto that I haven't really seen before in a long, long time. What I've been doing is meeting with a lot of teams recently. So one of my, I guess, not jobs in the market, but something I'm passionate about is just learning more about the tech, researching the tech, meeting a lot of teams and working with teams behind the scenes, because that's something I really enjoy. In fact, I spend more times researching protocols than actually creating content these days. Some people think I just, tweet and make videos all day. Yes, I spend maybe 3 hours making videos and tweeting, but the other 10 hours of my day, yes, I'm working 12-hour plus days right now. We're in grind season, we're in lock-in mode, right? That's being spent researching projects, investing, meeting teams. I get on about 4 to 5 meetings every single day. And something I've been learning throughout these meetings is that the real innovation right now in crypto is happening in the AI sector. The teams that I've been most impressed with, and the majority of meetings that I'm taking these days, are with AI agent plays, are with decentralized LLM models, AI networks, self-learning networks, AI DeFi, yield farming strategies. It's been absolutely crazy to see this sector kind of blossom, and that's coming off the back of massive funding for AI. So in today's video, I'll give you some of the large caps, which I'm concentrating more of my portfolio in. So my portfolio is really centered in the altcoin market around 2 niches. It's AI and memes, and then after AI and memes, it's RWA, it's L1s, and it's gaming. So that's pretty much how I'm structuring, because I think, as Smiley alluded to, when people come into the market, they're not going to FOMO into Bitcoin. They're going to FOMO into the shitcoins that are really shiny. And I think AI, based on mindshare, is the shiniest asset class, followed by memes, followed by GameFi, then, probably L1s and stuff like that, which is how I want to concentrate my portfolio. So I'm making even more of a shift into AI. So that's a big change that I made. So what are some of the specific alts I'm looking at? Well, firstly, I have a lot of altcoin gems, which I'm still researching because I get on a lot of meetings with teams, because I'm, researching gems all the time. There's a lot of stuff which I'm not going to talk about in today's video, but I will be in the future. And I'm going to share that research in my alpha channel in the Mars High Club. So if you are a member, you can be expecting over the next couple of weeks a couple really interesting low to mid cap plays, which I think are undervalued, as well as the live portfolio updates. There's a link in the description if you do want to join the Mars High Club below. As of now, however, what AI assets am I most concentrated in? Well, Tau's one of them. It's a leader for a reason. Guys, I got an entry on Tau at $200, again at $300. I've spoken about this a lot on the show, a lot in the Discord. Paradise called his trade in the Discord from $240 and has pretty much ridden it all the way up with his noodle indicator, which we teach you how to install that in the Discord. So this has been one of my best AI trades this cycle, and by virtue of its performance, it is my number one holding. I'm going to keep it that way. If you are, wondering, should I get an entry on Tau? Is it too late? Good news is it is down from the peak, like 15%. The current structure is basically a range structure. So you have range lows, range highs, and mid-range. If you are playing technical levels, you would look for a reclaim of strength to get back in, and then you would have this as your invalidation. What it looks like to me right now, though, is that it is losing strength. It's starting to roll over a little bit on the lower time frames. So unless it reclaims, right, and you get back in, you could potentially look to target a mid-range retest. What sometimes happens is, like we've seen multiple times on Tau, are these wicks which take it down to the mid-range to retest. So we may see that again, notice a little wick, and then we'll be on our way. If that's the case, I'd be very interested in buying at that mid-range level. If not, wait for a reclaim of strength and buy some more. I have a lot of Tau, so I'm not going to be buying that much. I'm more so trading it, but I'm more so speaking to the people here that don't have exposure. A coin, however, that I was underexposed to, that I am ramping up exposure to now is Near Protocol. This is another big one that I've been accumulating just because I think it looks really good from a chart perspective. Tau has been the leader in terms of an AI network. Near is the leader in terms of an AI L1. So those are like two of my leading plays. Now on to some of the more lower cap plays. Spectral is one of them that I have been adding. I really like this one because it's one of the top AI agent plays. And as I discussed earlier, AI agents, I think, are going to be the real revolution in the AI crypto world. You can basically task agents to do things for you. DeFi, yield farm for you, trade for you, position your portfolio for you. It's pretty crazy. Like, agents can do tasks on your behalf. And I think that is really in people's daily lives, especially when it comes to automating, investing and trading, where AI can really step in and help. And Spectral is a play which I think has something really cool going on in that space. So that's why I've been accumulating. There are some other reasons. Secondary reason is because the mindshare is actually down. My face is kind of blocking. I'll just move it across. The mindshare is down since earlier in the year. But the price has been still holding up, which shows that there are serious players positioning, and it's not just, crypto Twitter hype, which I like. I don't like buying during huge hype bubbles. I like buying when things are low, but the price didn't crash correspondingly to that, which shows relative strength. The other thing is the next unlock. They had a big one earlier in the year. It isn't for 6 months and 17 days. So that takes us into pretty much the end of Q1, which gives us a bit of leeway on that trade as well. So for that reason, I like Spectral, at least for the next 6 months. And that the unlocks can be, we'll speak about unlocks maybe in a later video, but the unlocks can be a little bit deceiving because it becomes a narrative and people trade around it. But in bull markets, funnily enough, unlocks tend to be bullish. There used to be this meta back in the 2021 market of bullish unlocks. In a bear market, they're extremely bearish because there's no buy pressure to offset the amount of new supply coming in. So it really depends on market conditions. So how that impacts the market will also, the token also depends on where the market is in 6 months, but it's so far away, I don't really care. If there was an unlock in a month, I'd be much more worried. For example, like something like Ondo has an unlock much sooner. That's in like 3 months. That's more of a concern to me than 6 to 7 months. Another one is TAR's protocol that, remember during the run-up when everyone was hyping at it, I was like, guys, I like this protocol, but wait for a pullback. Well, that's exactly what happened. We did get that major pullback from 20 back down to 11. This to me is now becoming a better buy, especially at the lows here. So either we come back and we reclaim this zone here at 12 cents, similar to Tau. You can look at a strength reclaim play there. If not, if we come back down to this orange zone, that is a really logical place to bid because it's been defended. So you've got very clear invalidation below that. So if we do get down to that 10 cent zone again, that would be a logical place. If not, on a reversal trade, you can look at TAI. If you don't know what it is, it's basically an AI play that is backed by Solana, which is huge. They were also accepted into the Google startup program. Very, very smart team. Basically, AI on Solana powered by Google Cloud infrastructure. So yeah, TAI, TAR's protocol, is another one, slightly lower cap that I'm looking at. Aethia, I like, although this is now technically in a lower time frame downtrend. If this wicks back down to this zone here at the 4.9 level, so 5 cents, to me, technically speaking, this is a good buy. Fundamentally, I do think this one can really perform. I mean, we've seen when it pops, it can pop really big. There just hasn't really been a full AI season yet. So AI is being mentioned a lot on social media, and there's been a lot of talk about it, mainly because of like the AI like agent Memecoins. But in terms of price action, you're still not buying into super overinflated prices. Many AI protocols are still significantly down, and you still have time to position. And I would be DCAing slowly on the dips. CARV's another newer one that I'm an investor in and that I really like fundamentally. I like CARV because it's a crossover between gaming and AI, so it kind of hits two nails on the head of two narratives that I'm really bullish on. And whenever a token can combine two narratives well together, I tend to like that coin. Prime is another example. I told you guys about Prime a couple of days ago, and then they recently had a massive investment from a leading hedge fund, and this has been performing well, but it's still significantly down. So as gaming AI crossover plays, Prime and CARV I really like. CARV in terms of TA is hard because it's just launched. So I'm looking for consolidation / directionality on price action to substantiate a trade. Prime because we have a little bit more of a gauge as to support and resistance. If you're trading this, you can simply play the range. If I do draw in the current mid-range point, you can see we are approaching resistance right now, actually. So keep an eye on a potential break above there. Aside from AI, what am I looking at? I don't want to make this video too long, but meme coins, that hasn't changed. On major dips, I am accumulating top memes. Actually, a couple days ago, I mentioned DOGE as a play, a breakout trade. That is already up since the time of uploading that video, like 25%. That's been a real strong performer in my portfolio. Obviously, off the back of potential Trump winning the election speculation, Andrew Kang shilling his thesis that DOGE would perform well in that environment. Klaus is another meme coin. It's the one that I called in the Discord that was up like a 7x. That's actually retraced a little bit alongside things like GIGA, SPX. So you're now getting an opportunity to buy in at a discount. If you did miss the run, I think this is still a very good price to get an entry. So Klaus is on my buy list as well. I'm personally holding the bag that I've been holding since day one, and also some of the position that I've been able to recently build. But if you didn't have a position, if you did miss those initial entries in the Discord, this is a much better zone. You see Fred here pointing out the confluence here of the moving average alongside range low on Klaus. And then two more memes I'm looking at. SPX I bought in at, I just wanted to say like well done to everyone that actually bought at 60 cents. I think it was like 65 when I released the video. It's already bounced nicely. I pointed out the levels in the last video. I've had limit orders at 70 cents, 60 cents. I've still got limit orders even down here at the 43 cent zone. Look, in terms of TA on a meme like SPX, it's not that important, but I just do it for risk management, and so I have something to substantiate like when I want to actually enter a coin. And then Giga as well is another one. MICHI's another one. So those are some of the memes I'm looking at accumulating on dips. SPX now I think is still a decent buy. You're getting Klaus on a dip. Giga's down a bit. MICHI's broken above all-time high. I told you guys about that one. I think at like 15 cents, and so you're up like a 2, almost 3x now. So that's great. And any newer ones that I add to my portfolio, I will share first in the Mars High Club, link in the description below, if you do want to join that and be a part of the community. That pretty much sums up my strategy. The TLDR is healthy altcoin markets are led by massive Bitcoin pumps and dominance increases. I am anticipating Bitcoin to perform well over the coming couple of quarters. If that does occur, and liquidity does go into BTC, I'm going to use the chop to accumulate alts. Although the market, I think, is feeling more bullish right now, I don't think it'll be that easy to just get an altcoin season in the next few months. Like I still think it's going to take some time, which is great because we have more of an opportunity to accumulate, build out our portfolios. Today I made that more of a heavier shift into AI by buying some more NEAR, buying some more Spectral, shifting out of some other positions like, L2, DeFi stuff. Ethereum, I've been like gradually selling. That coin's been so annoying to hold. I'm almost done getting rid of what I wanted to get rid of. I'm going to hold some just in case, but I have been getting rid of some. And just repositioning basically to make sure I'm heavy in AI, heavy in memes. I'm always heavy in Bitcoin, but I just don't talk about it because I feel like it's boring for most of you because, as I said earlier, you need a lot of capital to do well off Bitcoin. I don't even include Bitcoin in my overall portfolio. I think of Bitcoin like I think of my stock portfolio. Like, genuinely. I don't even have it on my spreadsheet which tracks like my holdings. I don't even have it there. I just have altcoins because I just, like, it's not even worth including. I view it as something completely different. I think it's entering a league of its own. So that's why I just don't talk about it. Plus, a lot of you, you want to make serious cash. You're not doing it with Bitcoin. I bought into Bitcoin for 5K back in 2019. So, also my cost basis is lower. I didn't add a large chunk at 50K though. I shared that in Discord and on the YouTube show actually. So that was a good buy. See you in the next one. Probably on Sunday. Have a lovely weekend. I'm going to be grinding. If you're serious about becoming a multi-gazillionaire like I am, then you got to use your weekends to grind, especially if you have a 9 to 5, because weekends are a massive chance to get ahead. The Brian Armstrong, founder of Coinbase, he was working at Airbnb and he was working all weekend and every night after work to build Coinbase. So, maybe you're not trying to build the next Coinbase, but you can at least build a very successful trading, investing strategy or a crypto business in your time outside of your side hustle. So let's grind on the weekend together. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.